Welcome to another episode of Difficult Women. And I'm joined once again by my friend and business coach with all of the metaphysical magic folded in somewhere. I love it. Mel Morris is with me today. Mel, welcome. It's so good to see you.
Hi to you and hi to everyone. This is going to be a super fun little chat we have today.
Love it. And I'm Courtney, your chief troublemaker, along for the ride here. And I asked Mel to carve out time to talk today because we're talking about something I think we all need a little bit of help with right now, which is like carrying the energy of the world and other people around us and like how to let some of that go. And one of the reasons this came up is I was sharing with Mel that I've been holding space for a lot of people, like not only just the news and the current events and trying to like be responsible about being up to date on things and doing what I can, but just life doesn't stop, right? Like I have friends that are dealing with mental health issues and physical health issues and trying to hold space for them and be that safe container. And just, I got on a call with Mel and was like, I just need to, I don't know, give me a minute. I got to shake it off. I was just trying to be there for someone else. And it turned out to be the conversation I didn't know I needed. So, yeah, because Mel was immediately like, okay, what are you going to do to release that? And so that's our whole theme for today is how do you release that energy and that it's not yours to hold on to forever?
Yeah,
So,
no,
Mel, tell us a little
absolutely.
bit about how you immediately knew what to say to me.
Well, I think because I'm also someone who, I mean, professionally and personally, I'm the one as well that people come to share their issues with. I'm a fixer, like you're a fixer. And so there's always this energy that's around. I have the experience of there always being this weight of energy around because I am that person. I am a magnet for people who have issues, who have shit going on, right? And so I mentioned to you, in our conversation yesterday that as someone who is very empathic, I have a lot of water in my chart. Emotion and processing emotion is like my gift from the universe to help people process emotion. And for me, I didn't know that for a long time. And so a lot of that weight from other people's energy I didn't realize I was carrying around with me, right? I didn't know anything about other people's energy, whatever. It was just, I'm helping people, but now I feel really like exhausted and tired and slightly depressed, but my life isn't like there's nothing wrong. Like, why am I feeling down? Years later, when I learned more about energy and things like that, I realized that a lot of what I had been carrying my entire life wasn't even my shit. And I didn't know it and I didn't know it enough to get rid of it. So as soon as you started talking about, and I could see it on you, right? Oh, I was
Uh-huh.
just talking to a friend and, they're going through a lot and I could see and feel the weight that you were carrying that wasn't yours. And because I know what that looks like and I know how important it is to get rid of it, I was like, okay, girl, what are we going to do? How are you getting rid of this? Like, oh, you don't know. You don't recognize that you're hanging on to this. Let's figure this out.
I have to interject here because your first response made me laugh out loud, which was, well, I burn Palo Santo. I'm like, bitch, I'm not going to burn Palo Santo. That's not my vibe. Like, I've just now come around like 5 years ago, any of the like tarot or like energy, I would have been like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I'm busy
Yeah.
making money.
Yeah.
And now
Well,
I'm like,
we
no,
met
that's real.
we met at the perfect time where you were ready for the woo, right? Where you start
Open
to
to
see
the
the
woo.
value. Yes, you're open to the woo.
Yes.
So,
Open to the woo. And so that was just, it was funny because I think it's like, but immediately as you started talking, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work for me, but this would, right?
yeah.
And so I think that's also sometimes when people hear words like energy or holding, it's like a resistance of like, no, that's because me 5 years ago, if you had said that to me, I would be like, no, like,
Yeah. She
okay,
doesn't get me.
sure, like, sure.
Yeah.
But now I'm like,
Yeah.
no, like that's my body needs that. Like I have to clear that out. Otherwise,
Yeah.
like I get stuck and then I can't do the things I'm supposed to be doing for me, which are going to be better for the world and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's all of us, right? I mean, any woman who interacts in the world is carrying other people's shit.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, some of us more than others, right? Some of us that are helping and helping people process, surely we've got more, but literally just waking up as a woman, you're carrying other people's stuff, right? You're carrying their
Totally.
judgment, their thoughts, their reactions to you that have nothing to do with you, right? And so it is something that we all have to be so much more mindful of, right? And however into the woo you are, right? I think it's important that we recognize it for what it is, that there is something that is
Right.
being placed on us regularly that we it isn't ours, right? If you don't want
Yeah.
to call it energy, if you don't want to acknowledge it in that way, even if you think about thoughts or communication, right? Like other people's thoughts and the way they communicate to me are sitting with me, even though it's not mine, right?
Mhm.
So even if you think about it in that way, you need to recognize it and you need to be able to do something with it. And there's
Totally.
lots of different things that we'll talk about today that you can try, but it doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be a whole ceremony, ritual. We're not setting up altars. And I mean, if you do that, great, but
Right,
that's
but it
not
doesn't have to
required to,
be.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. Right.
So,
That, and I think it's a good call out because we talked about this a little bit yesterday too, but I was talking about it a little bit with my therapist yesterday too, which is that like there's a difference between holding space for somebody and like being able to sit in the pain with somebody, right? Or like with a friend who's got a family member going through a health crisis, right? Like you can't fix that, right? You
right.
can't. And if you try to fix it, you're not being helpful. So it's
Yeah,
like something a lot of people struggle with is just like sitting in the pain with people and being like, I'm just going
yeah,
to be here with you and like witness
yeah.
and let you cry or let you whatever. And you and I are both good at that. We're containers
Mhm.
for that. We're very good at holding space and sitting in the discomfort with people. But I think then for me sometimes, and this is why the rituals are helpful and your advice about being intentional is helpful, is that I get tangled up in holding space with being responsible for in some way
Right, right.
and
Yeah.
like carrying
And
some
then
like
you walk away with it.
obligation.
Yeah,
Yeah, that then is like with me like a backpack. Like,
absolutely. It is. A
and you
backpack full
don't
of
even
bricks.
realize it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you keep holding space for other people and you're like, this backpack's getting really fucking heavy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and it's like we already have our own stuff to carry, right? And so everything that we talk about as far as clearing our energy works just for yourself too, right? For your actual stuff that you're carrying around. But when you know it, when you know that you are being intentional and you're supporting someone else or you're helping someone else go through something, when you walk away, if you think about it, when you walk away, you still feel it. You still feel the pain from that person, the hurt, the anger, the frustration, whatever the situation is. And that's because you are still carrying that energy with you. And so those are the things to be used as a reminder. When you notice that, when you stop and you see, like, oh, I feel so bad for my friend and what's going on and blah, blah, blah. When you recognize that there's a feeling you're still carrying with that, you're not just remembering the conversation, that should be the trigger, right? We have to practice that being the trigger for you to say, oh, you know what? Let me take 2 minutes and cleanse some of this energy off of me. That's not mine.
Right. And that's like the intentional piece because you have to like recognize the clue that you're talking
Right.
about, that trigger clue of like, well, now wait a minute. Because when I start hearing those shoulds, right, that are tied into the responsibility or the feeling, especially if you're like a highly sensitive person or a very
Right.
empathetic person or a neurodivergent person, I'm all of those things.
You're- right.
So, like, I don't just like hear your pain, I feel your pain.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's like, yes, it's a reminder that, like, no, it doesn't. I said something to my therapist a couple weeks ago about a situation where, like, I finally achieved like a healthy detachment around something. And I went back to her and I was like, I think I might be a sociopath. I don't, I was like, I'm not having big feelings about this. Like, I just don't care. It's not mine. And she was like, nope, nope, that, nope. Like, when you have
It's not how it
existed
works.
so much on this end of things, healthy
Right.
detachment makes you feel like it. She's like, no, sociopathy is like over here. We're correcting.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But
I love that.
it's a new feeling in some
Yeah.
ways.
It's hard. And I mean, there's so many reasons for it, but I think the biggest thing is that we have to be intentional about it. Nobody
Yeah,
ever taught us how to be intentional about us, about our stuff, our feelings, our thoughts. It's always for women, it's always other people. Well, what are you doing for your
totally.
family? What are you doing for people at work? How are you supporting everyone? How are you nurturing, caring for, da 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 da, for everyone else? There isn't a conversation around what are you doing for you unless it's like, oh, go have some bubble bath, like go sit.
Right. Go have a spa day. Go spend money that you don't have in this economy to go have a spa day where exploitive labor is used. Like, no,
And listen, there's
no,
nothing wrong with spa days, there's nothing wrong with bubble baths, but that is not self-care,
no.
right?
That's not like emotional self care. That's not like,
No,
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 that's
no.
different.
Yeah,
And what you were talking about earlier, which is that like there's just kind of an expectation put on women around like carrying the emotional load too,
yeah,
right? Like, and doing a lot of the like unpaid emotional labor, not only at home and in relationships, but at work. Like, I think about
everywhere.
how emotionally stunted most men in leadership are. And like, we have to navigate their emotions, and we're the ones that get labeled emotional. And it's
Yeah.
like,
No,
it's so
absolutely.
unfair. And I like pulled data because I was like, I want to know. We talk about the male loneliness epidemic, and we talk about all this, but you know what? Men don't do the work. They don't show up for
Mhm.
each other. They don't do it. I like looked this up. Nearly half of
Yeah,
women, 48%, have had a private motion heavy conversation with a friend in the past week. Hello, that's like half of us because we are there, we show up for our friends, we have community,
right.
versus 30% of men,
Yeah,
like less than a third. So that's part of why they're struggling, right? But it's
yeah.
also like we're the ones doing all the holding for everyone.
Yeah. And I would be curious about those numbers too. I mean, I think because that seems from the women's perspective, that seems really low. And I would guess, I mean, I don't know the circumstances, but my guess would be that we also are taught to carry our shit ourselves. So yes, some of us are fortunate enough to have people that we can have an emotional conversation with about like, girl, it's been a rough week. Let me tell you what's been going on. But there was huge chunks of my life where I was not having those conversations with even with my closest friends because I felt like it's mine. I have to deal with it.
Well, yeah.
Why am I going to burden you with my problem? So let me just keep it to myself. So I
Well,
think
because we
that's
were also,
important too to think about.
yeah, we were conditioned that way, especially like you think
Yeah.
about like millennial and Gen X women, right? That were raised that
Yeah.
like, okay, like you're going to be able to do it all and you have to do it all. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like you charge forward and you don't complain and you know, like,
Yeah.
and so that has been ingrained that you
Yeah.
just, and because women don't want to be a burden. We see this show up in like the health statistics too, of like women not going to the hospital because they don't want to be a
Hmm.
burden to their
Hmm.
families, right? And like, so that's, it's repeated in this. And I think also you and I talked about this a little bit, but it's even more important to have an intentional practice for how you release, clear, let go of, well, like whatever language you have to use that makes sense to
Right.
you, but especially if you have like I have ADHD, you have ADHD, we are neurospicy ladies. And like that means like it does make our emotions harder to regulate, right?
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
you know, like a huge percentage of people with ADHD struggle to like rein in intense emotions and to manage them. So it's like when you are holding space for people, like it's really hard because it activates that side of you,
Hmm.
right? And so you have
Yeah.
to manage that as well,
Yeah.
and just be aware of that, I think is, especially as late diagnosed people who we also can
Yeah.
relate to that.
Well, and I think, even to that end, you mentioned Gen Xers and millennials. I am a Gen Xer. And so,
Millennial.
yeah. And so it's funny. My children are millennials. That's how much of a Gen X I am. But I think about even being late diagnosed now, right? Because it's very recent for me. Women didn't have ADHD, right? When they first
No.
started diagnosing people with ADHD, women didn't have it. Little girls didn't have it. Only
Nope.
little boys had it, right? Which obviously was bullshit, but it's like everything else in
Mhm.
medical science. They weren't even bothering to look at why this might look different for boys and girls. And certainly that extends then to women, right? We're not even looking at what makes ADHD is seen differently from a female perspective. And so for years, even if we wanted to know anything about ADHD. We were never going to be diagnosed. Right. And so there's been so many people, the more I've been learning about ADHD and kind of talking to people and sharing with people, like, oh, what is this trend now where everybody has ADHD? I don't know if you've heard people say that, but I'm like, well, it's not a trend per se, but we couldn't have it before. Like we weren't, nobody was looking for it before. And so now, yes, you have this huge amount of, especially women who have been late diagnosed because it's finally an option. Someone's finally looking at us and saying, wait a minute, let me put in these calculations. It seems like all of
Yep.
those symptoms fit into this category that we didn't used to let you be a part of this club.
Yeah. Not only that, but it's like if you think about when, okay, so like in the 80s, when, they were diagnosing boys with ADHD because they were hyperactive running around the classroom. That's not how it showed up in girls, right? Like
Right.
it showed up as anxiety or other things, right?
Right.
Or like it was more internal.
Hmm.
And now you think about like the late diagnosis that happened for a lot of women, when we talk about like the holding on to stuff and the like owning everything around you, it's like they just did it. They carried it. Like you and me are both this way in some ways. Like we just carried it and carried it and carried it and
Yeah.
carried it, carried it, and carried it until you can't carry it anymore. And then
Yeah.
something breaks where whether it's becoming a parent for some of my friends, it was like becoming a mom was like
Hmm.
the door that they open, or like their kid got diagnosed and then they realized like, oh shit, right? And they
Right.
saw that reflected in them. Or for me, it was just like I was having other health issues and couldn't get care. And it was just like I finally reached a breaking point where something had to change, where I was like in therapy, healing, advocating for myself in all the different ways. And it's like it leads you to that because women collectively were reaching a breaking point. And so, like,
Right.
we did all this work. We went to therapy. We
Yeah.
believed we had anxiety for years and took anti anxiety meds until they realized that, like, no, it wasn't anxiety. I had anxiety because I had undiagnosed ADHD and CPTSD, and it was fucking everything up.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's 100% accurate as well. Yeah, I spent a good chunk of my life on antidepressants, right? I had the other end of that. I wasn't anxious about it. I was depressed about it. It weighed me down. Like I don't understand. And like you said, there wasn't an option to not survive, right? To not carry everything and keep moving, but there wasn't another solution. So you did what you have to do. And now that, again, like ADHD never, it wasn't even part of my vocabulary. Like I didn't know anything about ADHD. I had two daughters, right? So of course nobody's looking at them for
Right.
ADHD because they're not boys. And so I wasn't around like other parents who had kids, with ADHD. And so it just was not even a part. Like I would have never, if people didn't start talking about ADHD and what that looked like, I would never have been diagnosed. It would never have even been an option for me because I'm not looking for it. And
So thank
so,
God it's a trend. Thank
right. And
God
so,
it is.
bringing that back to conversations, to women especially having conversations, the value in having friends that you can talk to about those emotional things and have those open dialogues, right? Where it isn't just, I'm giving you this surface level, like, oh, I haven't had a great day today. But like, no, I'm going to cry about this thing and tell you how shitty everything felt to me today. And I just need you to listen to it. And then maybe you would offer, like, that's interesting because something similar happened. And that led me to this path of ADHD, whatever, however those conversations go. But that's how it's happening now, right?
It's
Women
it's
are
it's
finally
permission.
realizing that. Yeah.
We're giving each other permission. And so like our
Yeah.
voices are getting louder. It looks like a trend where it's like,
Right.
yeah, not everybody that can't focus has ADHD.
Right.
Obviously, that's not what it is. But
Right.
more and more women are being enabled and being given the permission structure to get the help and the support and the diagnosis that they never got,
Yeah. No.
exponentially making their lives better. Which do you think I cannot not talk about the current moment in politics in the US in 2025? Because anything that empowers women and gives us more of a voice and makes us feel like we are more activated is terrifying
Yeah.
to this
Yeah.
regime and the patriarchy. They don't want us to have access. So, of
Right.
course, they're going to have their little minions out there carrying the water that, like, this is just a trend and this is just no, they don't want women empowered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, rant over.
No. Rant away. I'm here for all of the rants. Yeah. No, I mean, and again, it's all of the things that we've talked about so far already. I mean, they all go back to that same issue of we have to be so mindful for ourselves first of
Yep.
how we're surviving everything, how we're getting through the day with everything, because it's never going to just be easy,
No.
right?
No.
And no matter what happens in politics, what happens with friends and relationships, what happens with our children, we're still with us at the end of the day. And
Right.
nobody's coming to save us.
Nobody. As my husband likes to remind me, he's like, "I'm the only one I'm sure is real. Y'all might be a simulation."
I don't know that I am even assured that I'm 100% real.
Fair, right? That's a
I would
little
question him
I
about
don't know that
that.
I can fully go down that road today. Not without an edible.
Yeah, he and I might have to have a conversation about that sometime. Yeah, like, how are
Uh,
you so sure you're real, sir? But yeah,
listen, I'm down to have it, but maybe not right this minute.
yeah, no, not today. It's too early in the
Um,
day for us
it
right now,
is,
but
right? And I maybe this is like a nighttime episode with an edible.
right.
But what I wanted to do with the kind of the remaining time that we have, because we've talked about a lot of stuff that I think people can relate to, but I want to leave people with more of like, how do you do it? What do you do? Like, yes, okay, preach. I've lived this. I feel this. I hear you. Now, how do I do it? What do I do? Because, like,
Yeah.
especially I think about Courtney 5 years ago, who was like in a very corporate mindset and like kind of
Mhm.
anti woo, like to make fun of the woo a little bit,
Mhm.
and Courtney today, who is not going to burn Palo Santo, but is like, yes, friend, do a sound bath for me for my birthday. And I understand the somatic needs of my body. Right.
Yeah.
So, like, what does the range of stuff look like?
I mean, it starts with intention, right?
Okay.
Whatever you choose to do, however woo or not, it starts with you being intentional about recognizing I need to release this energy. I feel it in your situation when we were talking, originally it was I need to release all this energy that is not mine,
Yeah.
right? And so having that intention in your mind and saying, okay, how am I going to release this? Well, let's see. If I start with maybe the not woo at all side of things, and what we ended up with for you was like go outside in the sun,
Yeah.
right? The sun's energy, the heat, I'm trying to not use energy in the non-woo section, but like
I think that's
feeling
fine.
feeling
Yeah.
feeling the sunshine on you helps to burn away those thoughts, that energy. I can't not say energy.
You can
It's
say
yeah.
energy, that's fine, but it's like because I was whatever the feeling is, the energy, the feeling, however you wanna call it, it's like feeling the sun on my skin. Like, we talked about this because 'cause I'm like, it doesn't feel authentic to me to burn something, right? Like, that doesn't
Yeah,
feel
no.
right to me.
Yeah.
So, like, whatever, find what's right
Yeah,
to
and
you,
that's
but
fine.
we talked about that. So I'm like, I went outside and I was like, "Okay, well, I always meditate out." I don't meditate. Can't meditate like people think about meditating, but I, like, meditate by sitting outside and listening to nature, right? And
Well,
your
you
comment to
can.
me and your comment to me was like, "But you need to be intentional. This can't just be you go
Yeah.
outside and, like, spend your time with that's fine for your meditation for what you do,
Right.
but this is an intentional practice." So I had to be very mindful of I went out and I was like, "Okay, this is a different purpose." And I'm like, "Okay, I had to go out there and think about, okay, the sun is burning this off. The wind, the breeze that's blowing through is like blowing that off of me
Yes.
like clouds blowing off of the
Yeah.
horizon." Right? Like, and I had to think about it that way versus if I just need to like get present and sit outside in one of my chairs listening to the birds, like that's cool, but
Yeah.
that's not intentionally releasing anything specific.
Right. Yeah, and just like you said, I mean, going outside and even saying to yourself, I mean, you can say it out loud, but just saying to yourself like, okay, I can feel the sun burning off all that is not mine,
Right.
right? And allow yourself to feel it. Like, where do you feel that literal sunshine hitting your body, right? Being intentional about feeling it, just like you said,
Yeah.
and you can do a little, if you want to woo it up, you can add some extra little chanty words to it or whatever. But it starts with that intention. And if
Yeah.
we stick to, that on the non-woo side of things, and you mentioned like feeling the breeze, if you think about the elements are going to help clear you, right? So
Ooh, okay, I
Fire
like this.
Fire energy, right? That's gonna be that sunlight.
Yeah.
It's technically not fire, but you could do the same thing, right? I love me an outside fire. You could do the same thing if you had a little bonfire outside, or even if
Oh, like a
you
little
have
fire
like
pit or
a
something.
you could even do like a candle, anything where you can feel the warmth, right? Warmth of the sun, warmth of a fire, and allow, again, being intentional, burning off all that is not mine, or whatever the situation is, right? So think about fire energy in that way. You mentioned the breeze coming through, right? Think about air energy. Yes, if it's a windy day, if there's some air outside, same thing. You can walk outside and ooh, thank you, wind, for blowing away all that isn't mine, right? And
Right. Or
again,
even like, okay,
notice.
watch me get woo and interrupt you. I'm so
Let's do
sorry,
it.
but watch me
No,
get
do it.
woo and interrupt you because I'm like, what about water? What if it's like, oh, I'm taking a bath and when I drain the bath, all of that energy goes out with it? Like, ha!
Absolutely, absolutely. Or what I do pretty regularly as a mostly water person, every shower is an
Washes away.
invitation to imagine where that water's hitting you and just literally it's washing down the drain while you're in there.
Hmm.
You don't have to spend your whole shower thinking about it, but especially if I'm stressed or anything, even tired, and I get in the shower like, "Oh, I thank you, water, for washing away all of this tiredness or pain or fear, whatever it is." Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or again, even lighter, I don't have time for a whole shower, a whole bath. Wash your hands. Put your hands under that
Oh,
running water. Be really intentional about feeling, again, the water cleansing that away, releasing that away. It's about the intentionality of that, right? And so, what about earth? Since you were good, you came up with that good one for water. What are you thinking for earth?
well, I don't know. Is that like the touch the grass thing? Like go outside barefoot and touch the earth?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, kick your shoes off, walk in the grass if you can, if you don't mind getting dirty, like actually put your hands in some soil, right? So that's why
Oh, like
people who do gardening
to
and
like
stuff.
ground yourself.
Yeah. And because you can feel like that coolness, that the texture of that, dirt or soil or even the grass under you. Again, like feel it pulling that all out of you, being really intentional. Thank you for
Mm.
pulling this energy away from me. And so that's those, just think about the elements. I feel like just about anything, if you think about the elements, they're always going to help you.
And that's like an easy fallback that isn't.
Yeah.
And I like the reason I keep coming back to like the woo versus woo because woo versus
Yeah.
not woo is because it's like
Yeah.
I've been on both sides of this and I'm like I've evolved and now I've collected the pieces of it that work for me and like my
Absolutely.
healing
Yeah.
practice as it
No.
were.
And you have to. You
Yeah.
have to. Because if
So
I
I
say to you, "Burn Palo Santo," and you're like, "Bitch, that's not a thing I do,"
then
so
it's
then
like it
you're
doesn't.
just never gonna think about, like, getting rid of this energy is just woo too woo for me, isn't it? So no,
No,
that's
you got
just,
to do
okay,
what
that's the
works
thing
for
I
you.
like to do. Yeah,
And
but what
maybe
works for you?
someday that will connect for me, but that's not where I am today.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
So it's like
absolutely.
I like calling that out because I think of, the different versions of me and what would be helpful along the way.
Yeah.
But I like the elements as like a guidepost almost because it's also that's what helped me learn how to meditate because I was just like meditating is stupid. My brain does it can't turn off. It can't do the thing. That's not what meditating is, but this is what I used to think.
Yes.
But like it is just about being present and the only way I could do that was like literally I live on a beautiful property where I can hear the birds and I can hear the frogs and I can hear the crickets. And so like I had to just sit outside and be like how many different layered sounds can I hear? I had to trick my brain because it was a real thing that was
Yeah.
really happening. And
Yeah.
that forced me to get present. And so when you talk about the elements, I'm like, because whether you're woo or not woo, like that's real. You can feel the earth. You can feel
Right.
the sun. That's a real tangible thing. That's
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
some abstract theory or
Right.
woo or whatever, right? Like it's a
Right.
thing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, because I could tell you to hold a crystal in your hand, right? There's different crystals. I could tell you to hold a crystal and feel the energy of that pulling through. But if you're not a person who's connecting with crystals, you're like, girl, I just have this rock in my hand. Like, what are you
Right.
talking about? Right.
Where
And
like
that's
feeling the
okay.
sun on my skin feels so much more.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, from a more, if we're going to go more on the woo side. So yeah, for me, when I am going to be clearing away energy, all of those things connecting to elements is wonderful. Absolutely. But my go-to, because I have these things here around me,
Yeah, show me, show me, show me.
you can't see the magic that is this whole space around me, but I have things. So I mentioned Palo Santo to you. So
Yeah.
this is what a Palo Santo stick looks like. It literally just looks like a chunk of wood,
Yeah.
right? But you just burn it. You burn it like you would an incense. You just, light it up, and the smoke from that, for me, well, I like the smell of it too. My candle just went out. But you would just light it, it smokes up. I don't necessarily always like to use incense, and I'm very sensitive to smell. So incense doesn't always work great for me. But something natural like a Palo Santo, the smell of it is fine. So for me, right, the senses, it's still connecting with senses, right? So if
Yeah.
this smell, I can feel it like penetrating inside of my body. I can circle around myself and clear it away. I can imagine that this is like, oh, I'm clearing this off of my skin, so there's still a physicality to it
Yeah.
as well. And so something like Palo Santo, we're not buying white sage anymore, right? Please don't be one of those well-meaning white women who are going to the shop and buying those bundles of white sage. Please
Okay, I don't
don't.
know anything about that.
Yeah, no.
What
And we
is
can have
what
another
Okay,
conversation about
that's for
appropriation,
another
but
day down the wellness rabbit hole. Because listen,
beyond the rabbit was,
we're gonna put another little pin in that for another
yes.
conversation because I think the white women in wellness industry is a whole ass conversation.
That's a whole other, yeah, yeah. And so if you're somewhere where you can't light up and have a smokiness, there's also a spray option, right? So this is called Sacred Smudge. You can make it yourself too, but it's basically just Palo Santo oil and
Oh,
alcohol and water. So you can spray it, right? You can spray it in the air against to smell it. You can spray it on your hands, and so that you feel it on your body. But there's a spray version. So it doesn't have to be Palo Santo, but something where, again, you're being intentional.
totally.
I have a lot of sprays. I even have a spray that's like, kind of representative of the sun, right? That I use
Oh,
more for energy. But even that, same thing. I can't get outside or it's raining. I'm not going to light a bonfire. You know what? Let me use the sun spray to
yeah.
help burn away whatever. The thing that you really like that I talked about, that I do at night, and so this is a selenite wand. And so selenite is really good for me. I can feel the moment I touch selenite, I can feel this energy coming through my hand. Not everybody's there. But I
Which is
keep this
fine.
one actually lives next to me on the bed. And especially at night, if I feel heavy, if there's something I need to let go of, I kind of, what did you call it?
I said
Spaghetti swirl.
it was like twirling like spaghetti. It was like a pasta twirl.
So again, being really intentional, right? I'm going to swirl this around myself, right? And am visioning, I'm imagining that it's like pulling together all that negative energy or whatever it is I need to release. And then I kind of like whip it off, like get
Yeah,
off of me, right? And again, for me, that's a thing. My intentional direction of that energy leaving works for me, right?
totally.
And so there are so many things that you can do, but it starts with just being really intentional and just imagining it, right? Even if, I don't know, even if somebody is incapable of a lot of movement, the more important thing is that in your mind you are intentionally releasing it, letting it go,
Right.
saying
Right.
saying it to yourself or out loud that you are releasing those things. That's the most important piece. So we got to do
In
it.
whatever way that connects
Yeah.
with you, your
Yep.
abilities, wherever you're at.
Yep.
Because as you were doing that, I'm like, I'm definitely not where you are, where I can like touch a crystal and feel an energy. That's not where I'm at. But do I have some crystals that people have gifted me that I think are lovely and I keep them around? Absolutely,
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. No,
And
absolutely.
when you were talking about the wand and the pasta swirling, because that visual that made so much sense to me about
I
getting
love
that.
that.
But I'm like,
That was
it
funny.
doesn't, you don't have to be perfect, right? It's like I fell into also as a neurodivergent woman, a lot of like black and white thinking, a lot of all or nothing thinking, a lot of perfectionist thinking because women are raised that way. But like,
Yep.
so it's like, well, if I can't do it or if I'm not good at it, then I'm not going to do it. I'm not getting
Right.
the dopamine hit, so I'm over it. And if I'm not doing it
Yep.
right, I'm not going to do it. Okay, I don't have a selenite wand and I don't have crystals that I connect with, but you know what I do have? I have a wand from my childhood
I
that my
love that
mom
so much. It's
found
so
from when I
cute.
was 5. And so I'm like, you know what? It doesn't have to be a selenite wand. It can be a wand that your mom found for you that I
Yeah.
can use that intentional practice to pasta whip my own shit away with my own.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There isn't a wrong way to do it, right? With
Yeah,
any of these things, any of this like real self-care, as long as you are being intentional,
right.
you can't get it wrong. You could use your
Right.
finger technically. I mean, whatever it
Whatever.
is, there isn't a wrong way, and it doesn't have to take you a half an hour. Like, I mean, how long does this take, right?
Yeah.
For me to think about this. And, if I will sit literally on the side of my bed and do this, right? And yeah, I might go all the way around my body. It's not taking me more than 2 minutes to do that,
No.
right?
No.
It doesn't need to take a long time. If you can picture it, if you can be intentional about it, you're letting it go and then you're moving on. You're not
Right.
lingering in, I wonder if I got it all. Because now you're
No.
still thinking about it. You're just pulling
Right.
it back in. Let
Right.
it
You
go.
didn't do the pasta flip. You gotta whip it.
Oh my God, I love that so much.
That might be I think we're gonna have to end it probably on the pasta whip because that is
I just paused the whip. Yeah.
to your point, it's just about being intentional about taking care of yourself,
Yeah.
right? And knowing that,
Absolutely.
like, especially in this moment where there's so much that we all want to do and we feel so helpless in so many
Yeah.
ways, I think it's more important than ever. The worst thing in the world would be for women, especially like midlife, millennial, Gen X women. Like, I think we are the powerhouse that's going to help make the change and we can't let ourselves burn out. And so it's like so important, I think, for like all of us to be
Yeah.
even more intentional in taking care of ourselves because we are going to be the change.
Yeah. No. I mean, we already are, right?
Totally.
We are the ones who carry it. And so whatever you're doing, whether you are working, whether you're stay at home, whether you're out picketing or you're just sitting at home sad eating popcorn watching the chaos, whatever it is, you have a right to release that stuff, right? You can't just sit in it.
Yeah.
You can't, you have to let it go because you are important in this world and you need to be a bigger part of it. And you can't do that when you're carrying around that backpack full of bricks, right?
Preach. Yes. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Mel, for joining me today. This was such a fantastic conversation. I needed it so much yesterday, and I'm so glad that we continued it today. I hope this has been helpful for anybody out there who is listening because God knows we
Yeah, me
need
too.
more of this. So
Absolutely. All the
until next
time.
time.
Till next time, y'all.